Good evening and welcome to this special edition of the Nuvee Club Podcast for Nukhu. That's Nukhu.com. My name is Big Mike, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, broadcasting from somewhere in Brooklyn, USA, Mr. Sanjay Singh. Sanjay, how are you?
I'm doing well, Big Mike. You always get this wrong. I'm in Chinatown, Lower Manhattan.
We can't start over. It's all live. Didn't you live in Brooklyn?
I'll move to Brooklyn and everything will be fine.
All right. Yes. Actually, I think you should move to Jackson Heights, Queens, because Jackson Heights, Queens is going to be a big part of what we discuss here tonight. It is a special edition Q&A with some really, really fantastic folks behind Half a Life. It's a new short that is exclusive right now at Nukhufest.com, and it is one of our semifinalists for the Nukhufest 2026. Are you going to hit that little intro video, or are we saving that tonight?
I'll hit it right now.
All right. Start the show. For those of you who are questioning what the hell that actually was, it tells you a little bit about the Nuvee Club Podcast. What is the Nuvee Club Podcast? Well, it's just me and Sanjay. We're two guys. We love films. We love watching films. We love making films. We love talking about the films that we love to watch and talking about the films that we love to hear the stories about how they are made. Tonight, we are joined by the folks that are behind the short Half a Life, which is currently available for you at Nukhufest.com. Remember, you can drop your questions in the chat because we want you to be involved in this. We want to learn all the behind-the-scenes information that our guests can share with us tonight about Half a Life, how the project came to be, and where it's going from here. And if you haven't checked it out yet, it is certainly worth a watch. You can get that. You can get your free account, register for your free account at Nukhu.com. That's Nukhu.com. Sanjay, how did this come to be, getting all these people here together for the special edition of the Nuvee Club Podcast?
Well, this is the brainchild of directors Ranju and Sanjit Majumdar. They reached out about participating in Nukhufest. Our committee had a chance to check out the project, Half a Life, and really, really love the world that was built here. We think Finn's performance really resonates really well with the world they built. We think there's a lot of potential in the character to build this project into something bigger, and we wanted to support it for this year's festival.
All right. And that is, if you're listening, that is how we got here tonight. So without further ado, let's introduce our writer-directors, Ranju and Sanjit Majumdar. Did I say that right? I'm getting better. Majumdar. Yes, Ranju and Sanjit. They are identical twins and longtime filmmakers. Their work spans directing, editing, and high-end color finishing. As I said, the new short, Half a Life, is a noir thriller set in Jackson Heights, Queens, 718, represent, and it's now streaming on Nukhu.com. Ranju, Sanjit, thanks so much for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for inviting. Thanks for having us.
Now, how did you come to find Nukhu? Because that's always an interesting question. I know in the films, there's so many films available at Nukhu.com. I'm always interested to hear about how writer-directors as yourselves find the Nukhu platform before we get them on the show here.
It was a Producers Guild of America get-together a month ago or a few months ago, and a producer named Gautam Singhani. So I was asking about online platforms for short films, and he was like, "How about Nukhu?" And he said, "I'll contact Sanjay." And I'm like, all right. So I waited a couple of days and I'm like, I messaged him again. Do you contact Sanjay? And I was, fuck it. I'll contact him myself. You know what I mean? It's like,
the Guild. Wow. I think that's the first time we've gotten that specific answer. Right, Sanjay?
Yeah, there's always a first time for everything.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. Also joining us, as you can see, who is very well lit. I love the lighting in that. I know how much time went into putting lights outside your window, but we appreciate the efforts. We're joined by the actor star of Half a Life, Finn Wittrock, whose work you've seen across major film and television projects, stars in Half a Life as Ivo Terzic at the center story about identity survival and what gets buried in the shadows of a city. Finn, thank you so much for being on the Nuvee Club Podcast. Where are you joining us from?
Los Angeles, California.
That's right. I don't got no other partners in 818.
Oh, I'm 818. Did you know?
818, 718. And now I'm 631 for life. And I do miss being back in Queens. I grew up in Queens, South Ozone Park. Spent a little bit of time. I spent a month one night in Jackson Heights. It was a good time, and a story we don't talk about.
What happens in Jackson?
It's got to, well, what happens in Jackson Heights is not going to stay in Jackson Heights, because people can watch this fantastic short, Half a Life, at nuku.com. And of course, you can cast your votes coming up for the Nukhufest 2026. But Sanjay, since you're the man in charge, the man behind the scenes, the behind of this entire Nuku project, why don't you start us off with your vision for tonight's Q&A session?
Of course, yeah. So I really want to kind of start broadly and talk about the spark for this world, Half of Life. Was it a character? Was it a location? A moment you witnessed? What kind of was the inspiration that got you started here?
It was from a friend who was working as an immigration paralegal at a attorney's office on Roosevelt Avenue in Jackson Heights. He was a friend from college named Ishmael Iniguez. And so he told me about, and me and my brother were living there after college. He told me about the underground documents trade, because I was seeing these, people of all ages, socio in the neighborhood. I asked him about it, and I was trying to figure out an idea for a movie. And then he told me these heartbreaking stories about these families that got broken up because of deportation orders or depot orders. And it was really getting to him. So, I just felt like there's a story here. And of course, I was like film noir. I love the aesthetic of film noir. I was shooting models at the time for agencies, model tests. And one of the makeup artists, she was a Bosnian Muslim living in Jackson Heights. And we were working with her that day. And I remember I was really struck by her presence in the 74th Street station, being being one of the few white people in this station full with brown folks, Colombian folks, and that image of her. And so I was interested by Bosnian culture and the fact that she was wearing all Muslim garb. And then me and my brother, before that, we were in the welfare system because we were trying to find work because we graduated during the recession. And we're in the welfare office. And they back then, I don't know if they do it now, but they make you take classes on like how to apply for jobs and stuff when you're really just looking for like a hookup. And so you got to sit through these classes. But there's always this, in the elevator, there was this one guy, these few white people there, and most people were black and brown. But there's these white outsiders there that were really interesting. There's one Jewish guy, I think. He had a big Star David necklace on him and a dragon tattoo. And he had a tear tattoo, right? Older guy with his paperwork standing there. So that inspired me. Okay, there's a crime world in these institutional spaces, right? And then there's another guy. He looked Eastern European, black hair, Caucasian, glasses, very quiet. They've always sitting with us in these classes. So I was interested by that. So then me and my brother came up with the character Ivo Terzic, this Bosnian outsider living in this majority Indian, Bangladeshi, Nepalese, Hispanic neighborhood and feeling at home there and comfortable there, right? So I was thinking about a white outsider in an ethnic neighborhood, because the movie we did previously, Determinism, was about a brown outsider in a majority white college campus, right? And it was a multi-ethnic cast. So I didn't really want to deal with like race in that way. I wanted to reverse it. I wanted to make it a white outsider in an ethnic neighborhood. In Jackson Heights, I thought it would be a more interesting dynamic. I was interested by whiteness, the idea of whiteness, how someone could be less assuming to authorities, to the police. So I thought about that. And that's where it came from. It was just being developed over time. I said, I want to do a noir story in Jackson Heights, in this globalized world, neon lights everywhere, deal with race, deal with community, family, deal with immigration, demonstrating identity, but in a very thrilling, exciting way. Not like, boring, itchy, ideological way, but just tell a story that these issues, tell us, it's not even, I wouldn't say it's an issues movie, but the audience will come out thinking about these issues.
So just to touch on that, because obviously there's so many levels to what you're describing. And we're sitting here with the writer-directors of Half a Life and the star of Half a Life on this special edition of the Nuvee Club Podcast. Drop your questions in the chat. We will share them if we get some before the end of the show. So it's a short, and it's very short for a short. How did you determine what was going to make it into the because you can, even as you watch it, you get the idea that there's so much more to tell here. There's so many layers to the story. There's a lot of other different parts, and you kind of get the sense that more is coming. How did you determine the final length of the short, and how did you determine what information was going to be in that segment and be left for what might be to come.
Well, it was the character of Ivo Terzic and the visuals of that neon look of Jackson Heights. And I was tired of being in meetings explaining how Ivo sounds. Because when you hear Ivo Terzic, you're not sure if he has a Bosnian accent. You're not sure what Ivo Terzic is. And Jackson Heights, I say, it's like Blade Runner. They're like, what? A neighborhood that's mixed in New York that we don't really hear about. That's like Blade Runner with the neon lights. And we were just like, our producer, Julius Pryor, said, we got to just make this short to just show people, because a lot of people, they don't know the neighborhood. They don't know the neighborhood. When they hear Ivo Terzic, you think you might have a very different kind of visual on them, you know?
Yeah, you might think it might look like your typical like hood movie, you know, like an 8 Mile or something. That's been done.
But also, I should say that the short is a kind of standalone thing, and the feature is kind of its own other thing, right, guys?
Yeah, because we wrote the feature script first, and then now the short is actually a prequel. It might be set months.
It's almost like a side project
Side
that Ivo
story.
was doing while he was doing the movie that we are going to see whenever we make the movie.
Yeah, like, because I always loved comic books, right? I always loved comic books when I was a kid, and I always loved like the little side stories of a character, right?
I think that's really interesting because the short itself doesn't have a lot of exposition. It drops you into this world. You know, Finn's character Ivo is just kind of like in the middle of this interview, and as the audience, you're kind of playing catch up. So, I'm curious, Finn, was that something that you helped craft, while being a part of this kind of side project? What about this short, I guess, helped? Do you want to be a part of it?
Well, I'll just give you some context. I've read this script years ago and loved it, and have been like a part of it for a long time now, and it's going to get made soon enough. And the short was kind of a proof of concept in a way, but also I think these guys wanted to make it something just interesting on its own, not just like we're going to make the movie, but make it just like a shorter version of it. It's like, no, let's make the short its own standalone thing that people can see, and then once they see the movie, they'll kind of have a deeper understanding of what this character is and this life is. I came to this movie a while ago. I won't say how many years ago. I was really impressed by the idea of like you say, kind of this idea of a guy who is white, but he's not white. He's Bosnian, so he can assimilate, but he feels other in the white world and also in the place where he is, and so he's figuring out himself, and also he has this sort of figuring out his own life aspect of it. But I didn't really figure out the movie until I went to Jackson Heights with Ranju and Sanjay, and I walked around, and really you just walk around that neighborhood for 30 minutes and you are kind of transported. I mean, New York is so amazing. Like, I thought I had seen so much. I traveled up. I've been to the Bronx and Staten Island and so many places, and I thought I knew it, but it is one of those places that it's not one. It's like the only place where you can it's not that many square miles of footage, but you can discover a new neighborhood. You might spend your whole life doing that, and to get to Jackson Heights was like, this is a character in a movie, and the script is very it's very well formulated, and the characters are well realized, but there's this sort of aspect of it that like the neighborhood is kind of in its own presence in the movie, and you really can't know that until you go there. And when we shot the short, it was like just kind of walking around, like as you've always referenced Taxi Driver, like so much of that movie is him kind of just experiencing New York City and being a part of it, and also being like an alien from it, and sort of how does he fit into that world. And the neighborhood was so vibrant and alive that the movie really clicked for me once I got there. And I was like, first of all, this is exciting to do as an actor, because like I would just have the camera follow me around, and we'll see what adventures I get into in Jackson Heights. But also, like, I've never seen that on a film before. Like, we think we've seen New York City in so many movies, but we've never seen this New York City before. We really haven't. And so that's really exciting to me, that prospect.
Excellent. I think you're right. I think the richness of the city of Jackson Heights, that specific neighborhood, really comes through in this short. And I think it allows your character to kind of step into its role more in how the role is, the character is, compared to the diversity around you.
Isn't it like the most languages spoken in the smallest amount of space, like in the whole world? I think that there is something about that. Like, that little area of Queens is like, there's more languages spoken there than anywhere else in the whole world. It's an amazing experience. It's like there are people of so many different walks of life, and they're all just kind of like you do in New York City, just kind of getting along. Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, not always peacefully, but like existing next to each other.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the like logistical, maybe hurdles or some things that you faced while you were actually trying to get this short made.
Well, there was that Muslim. There was they were doing prayers next door.
Yeah,
Remember when
the morning prayer. That was
yeah.
the morning prayer. I mean, we got lucky with the
Amazing.
location, but morning prayer we had to move all our equipment through that. We had to wait. I mean, we're setting up inside, but we had to wait for the prayer to be over. And it was tons
Jackson
of
Heights doesn't care. Jackson Heights doesn't care that you're there to make a movie.
Jackson Heights
Not
don't give a
care.
fuck.
Walk out these guys. Yeah, we're cameras rolling. They're like,
They're just living their lives. Like they don't care. But yeah, that was hard. That was really interesting. But for me as a director, I love it because even hearing the morning prayer, I'm not in Pleasantville. This is a different kind of America, and I just love that, right? Because I experienced small town America as well. I experienced that. I prefer New York much more, but I love that. So it put me in the mood. So I love that, and of course the visuals are right there.
Yeah,
There's always something to shoot. You don't have to do any production design.
Mhm.
The location is already designed.
You couldn't recreate it. I mean, there's no way.
No. Well, the one thing about the conditions, right? Because we were shooting our DP, who's excellent, Shlomo Goddard. He has a documentary background, so he's able to handle it. So he could, he could set up really fast, get amazing compositions. He was amazing. We use these vintage Canon FD lenses, Canon rangefinder lens from the 80s. I wanted those to give it a vintage look, like a Taxi Driver, Michael Mann thief feel. He could handle it, right? I think I could handle it, but I got nervous. I kept forgetting set protocol. But, I just try to focus on the little viewfinder.
Well, when you're shooting on the street, also.
What was that?
What was that?
Sound was the only that's going to be the challenge when we make the movie because
yeah, the
there's a lot
sound
of
came
noise.
out. The sound
Especially
actually
under the elevated trains and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not going to shoot dialogue under the train. That was a rule. We're not going to. We were able to shoot around Diversity Plaza.
I
So we
hate
never
ADR,
wanted.
Yeah,
ADR sucks. But the sound that was scary because people are wheeling out carts, right? While Finn and the second
the
lead
night shift. It was like they were like
they're just like these loud sounds, and Finn and Savita just kept on going with the scenes, right?
And this is a low budget, so you guys aren't closing down the street. People are walking back behind you and staring into the camera.
No, it's no, but
we're looking at the camera. I'm bumping into people. I just walked into these Russian girls at the end. That gotta makes it in the movie for a second.
Yeah,
just like, what are you doing tonight? Like,
you do a great job.
You gotta roll.
You're doing a great job of explaining some of the challenges that you faced, but also why you made that particular decision to film it where you filmed it, because the where is part of is character in the movie, a very important part. I'm always interested in learning a little bit more about the decisions behind projects like this. I think that I love one of the parts that I love the most was that like you start the project and you're in it right away. You know, boom, you're in it. Like there's no real setup. It's just happening. What led to that decision? Why was that made? And also why to film at night? Obviously that's probably what you were looking for, but ultimately how did those two things come to pass?
Well, I'm a big Oliver Stone fan. I love Oliver Stone movies. I love Scorsese movies. I love Spike Lee movies, right? Now, the parts of those directors, the parts I love of those movies is the fast montages, throwing the audience in. Now, I can't name a specific movie that began like that from those directors, but there's parts, there's sections, there's sequences.
Yeah. Any Given Sunday. I mean, there's
Any Given Sunday,
in there.
Yeah, there's so many. JFK, it doesn't start that way, but they utilize that tool.
Montage
throughout the film, because that movie is like 6 or 7 hours long.
Like, I love montage. I love high energy filmmaking, right? I always did. And I thought about the neighborhood, like you're just thrown into life once you leave the station. Like the buses are going, people are walking around you. So I want the audience to have that feel that they're just thrown into this guy's life and they have to catch up to him.
And the movie too is like that. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about the actual script of the feature, but it's you kind of go into the middle of a fast moving train and you're kind of there's no exposition at all. Also in the longer,
the full screenplay is in the same style. same energy.
Yeah.
And it opens up like that with the Evo. You don't know who he is. Right away, he's walking down Roosevelt or Diversity Plaza, and it does like, this kind of tracking shot through the neighborhood. Same feeling as the short film, right? So I wanted people to know what's coming next. Is that kind of high energy filmmaking that where you establish a location, you know everything, but you know what I mean? Like you have to catch up to the story.
Yeah,
And that's like life too.
but also just New York is like that. You think about just when you just land on the 7 train in Jackson Heights, you're thrown into all this life. Or if you're in the Lower East Side or in Park Slope, in one day you could be in a completely different environment, thrown into a whole different atmosphere. And the movie should capture that. You're just thrown in.
Take the subway and leave a place.
Yeah. I was going to say that I went to school in the city for a short time in my life for about an 18-month period. And most of the time I was getting off the train and going up the same train, same staircase, walking out onto the same street corner. But if I'd say the typical New Yorker's experience, and even those who come and visit, that's usually not what they're doing. They're getting off at different subway stations, walking up onto a different, sidewalk, a different corner. And if someone could capture that, what that feeling is of when you step out of the subway off the staircase and now you're just, bam, you're just in a world. Like, I think that's a really good way to say it. And I think that this short does kind of do that. Somebody could have walked right off the subway platform or down the stairs if there was an L train there and see the interview happening. Like, that energy was definitely captured, and I like that energy.
Well, one big inspiration for me was the opening of Gangs in New York. Right away, you're thrown into these immigrants' world back in the 1800s, and I just love that kind of filmmaking because for me, I'm not really too interested in exposition in the opening and trying to establish a character's background for too long. I'd rather have the audience learn about someone as the film goes along. I just find that just more entertaining. Because even like you think about people you meet, like you don't get their full story right when you meet them. You know what I mean? You learn about them over time. You learn new things about them over time.
Yeah,
right?
cool.
So, and it's boring. Like you really want to have a character like, okay, he wakes up in the morning. I mean, American Beauty, that worked there, but a guy wakes up, you see his house, you see his wife, and then the story starts like 20 minutes. And especially in this, right? Like we've seen that a million times. So
yeah, it's
that's a great analogy. Yeah,
moment of his life, and we just keep going.
Yeah, I like that.
It's funny you touch on that because there's been a lot. Me and Sanjay were talking about interviews that some filmmakers have given recently, where they're talking about a newer approach or a more contemporary approach to filmmaking being driven by audience and the way that they consume the product now. Their attention span and what they're looking for. So it's interesting. At the same time, it doesn't fit with some of the people that are making a film where they have to reiterate the plot every 5 minutes or start off with a huge explosion or whatever it is. But you still get that energy because I like the idea that you dropped into a story and now you have these questions. And yeah, if you're a person who doesn't like a film like that, then maybe this isn't exactly that. Maybe not even be the audience that you're looking to attract. But I just want to reiterate, we do have the chat open for questions. We're sitting here with the writer, directors, and star of Half a Life. It's a short. It is currently available. Nuku.com. Register for your free account. And since a lot of the people that consume the Nuvee Club podcast, whether they do it live with us or if they do it at another time, a lot of them are filmmakers themselves. So I'd like to ask, how much of the decisions that were made were driven by the resources that came with this project, limited resources, as far as where you shot it and how long it ended up being, all that kind of stuff for the filmmakers out there. How much of that was governed by the available resources?
Well, Finn works on like big Hollywood movies, right? So for him,
they had like 6 hours with me, so that was a limited resource.
But I mean,
6 hours. That's it. Because that was another question. It was like, how long did this take to actually?
Yeah, 6 hours.
No, they did more. There was more to it, but I was doing another movie, and they were like, dude, I was shooting in the Hamptons. And they're like, can you come into the city? I was like, okay, I can come in on, was it a Saturday?
I think it was like a Thursday or something.
Sunday?
Thursday. Yeah, I had the day off. Thursday, and yeah, And so I took the train in from West Hampton and kind of shot it all night, and then went home and went back to the Hamptons. I felt bad for having my limited thing, but you guys were so prepared before I got there. I just kind of walked in and you did it. But you were, your prep was in like the back of a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, we got lucky because that location, I always wanted to film in that location. It's an alleyway in Jackson Heights.
Yeah, it's called
Bangladesh Circle, right? Then I needed a print shop. Akbar Kiran Hayder, he's a big part of the community. He said, I know the owners of Graphics World, the print shop. So we met them. They said, okay, you could film here, right, for that one day. So we had the print shop. Then outside, the other scenes are with Finn and Savita Sukul. And then we wanted to shoot in Diversity Plaza because it has that Blade Runner vibe, right? So everything was in the same.
That was a little off the cuff, wasn't it? That was a little run and gun there.
Yeah, I mean, like the one scene was already planned down in one part was already planned out with shotless, right? But then we had the DP just follow Finn around, handheld, through the neighborhood, and luckily, like, no one really looked at the camera either. But Shlomo just following him around, and Shlomo's a great operator, right?
The depth of field is pretty shallow too.
Yeah.
So whoever's pulling the focus, they're on the money there.
Oh, we had a great AC too, doing it remotely, electronically. Yeah. So, and we just filming stuff on his own. And Shlomo, like,
you know what's funny? We didn't even discuss it. Shlomo just kept shooting. So Shlomo, like
cut. Cut. Are still going. We're just down the street.
Yeah, like you'll be like a mile away from the directors just shooting with Finn. And I brought some friends, Christina Burkan and Kristin Turkalo and Anna Morphidius, and they're three Russian girls, right? So Finn has a little flirt going on, and these three girls are gorgeous. So Finn has a little flirt going on with them in one scene, because that was one thing that we always discussed about this character, even when Finn was doing notes, because we were trying to figure out this character for a while. So Finn, we were talking about the flirtatious aspect of him, the kind of New York swag, So that was really important too, because I didn't want to make him I didn't want to make Ivo Terzic a Travis Bickle. I wanted to make him the opposite of a Travis Bickle, because I feel like, Travis Bickle inspired, Michael Douglas in Falling Down, Joker. I didn't want to make this guy an antisocial incel person that's alienated by this environment. And we were talking about it. He's part of the neighborhood.
Yes, but he's also not like a goody two shoes. Like he's not.
No.
He's a bit of an anti-hero too. He's not like the nice guy. He's he's rough around the edges. Because he's grown up there, and if he sees a girl he wants to.
Well, I mean,
he's not going to be shy.
He's not going to be shy, and he's not going to be PC.
Yeah, he's not going to be PC.
It was funny. We showed at the Proof Film Festival at the American Cinematheque, right? Huge audience, huge theater, right? Beautiful theater. There's a line. I don't want to give it away. There's a line that he says, and all the guys in the audience were laughing. All the women just look kind of like. One woman gasps. Other women just look
I know
alienated.
what line you're talking about too.
I think I do too. Yeah.
All the men were laughing and the women were just kind of off put by it. So I just love that reaction.
I laughed at the line. I thought it was good. I have a specific question for Finn and then for all of you, but I want to backtrack 1 second because I'm fascinated by this 6 hours with Finn that wasn't really 6 hours, because we may have some filmmakers that are going to watch this. Talk about the pressure associated with that. Because I'm sure every filmmaker, whether it was me and Sanjay doing our shorts for whatever it was we were doing back in the day and whatever we will be doing, but I'm sure every filmmaker, anybody working on a project like this, they have felt pressure. But to me, this is some serious pressure. Talk about the pressure with only having access to Finn for that amount of time.
Well, for me, I was like, so some of the producers were kind of like, are you okay? Are you nervous? Right? I wasn't really nervous. It's just that ever since I was a kid, I could kind of map out how the shots will cut together in my head. So a lot of times I would just kind of be kind of I would see Shlomo working, thinking, okay, this shot can go here, this wide shot can go here, right? So I just wanted to make sure we got everything we needed. And Shlomo, I'm in great hands with Shlomo. And then my editing background, okay, I'm always thinking, how do I cut it together? How do we figure this out later on in editing? I'm always nervous about that. Which is kind of sucks about me, is that sometimes actors could be like, are you happy? And it's not the actors I'm worried about. For me, I'm just thinking, how will these shots come together? So you have to have a gut instinct And that was because me and my brother started making like shorts and a feature film at 16. So we would shoot. Oh, we forgot a shot. We'll go the next day, get the shot. And we would edit every night after we were done shooting when we were teenagers. So, just years of doing that, it was like, I didn't have that much pressure. I was like, okay, we have a crew now. That was different. Yeah, so, to me, it was Hollywood. Like Finn works on, Finn's works with big movies. For me, like, it was just me and my brother with a video camera and a mic. So for me, like, when I saw the set, I was like, this is Hollywood. I never made a movie. I never got to make a movie with this much help. And at the same, for me, like, I was like, I felt like I made it to the big time. I remember the other producer, Shruti, she would say, "Oh, this feels like one of my NYU student films."
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Like, this was big to me.
Yeah. I was like, this is... To me, I felt like I was shooting, what's Nolan's next movie? The Odyssey? To me, it was like The Odyssey. It was like,
The Odyssey.
Whoa. And for that, I felt more pressure too, because I don't want to let anyone down. I want to make sure the movie comes out good, right? So I was like, oh man, like, if the movie, when we come home and we edit together, it better be a good film, because all the people that came out to help, and it was like, what, 6 people? I think, like,
yeah, all 6.
Yeah, it's all 6 of them. Like, then, they're gonna be really pissed off at me, right? So that's prep.
But you sharing the value of that perspective, I think that resonates a lot with any filmmaker, any person who's on a project, especially anybody that would be listening to this, because I think that everybody, that whether they get involved in one thing that becomes something big, or if they really want to be involved in huge productions, they probably all had that experience where this is everything. This is my life right now. And I'm standing in Jackson Heights filming this short, but to you, it was Hollywood. And to, from another angle, it was a student film. But I think that that's probably a much more common feeling that transcends all levels of a project. Don't you agree?
Well,
Definitely.
I feel like once the directors actually get too used to big budgets, their movies actually start to suck. You know what I mean? So
not Nolan though. Not Nolan. Odyssey's gonna be great. If you hear me, put me in there.
My favorite Nolan movie is still Memento. But I like just smaller stuff actually. I thought his smaller stuff was actually more epic than his big stuff. But I'm a weirdo.
Yeah. Makes for a great trailer though. That trailer looks great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I have a perspective on it that's kind of strange, where the dramatic moments and the melancholy of Memento had more weight to me than a lot of his bigger films. For me, it felt more like the ending of Memento when he's driving and then he forgets was like the most epic thing that he has done.
Yeah, it definitely it leaves you with
and he's just driving in a car like that. To me, the intimate is epic.
Well, Nolan recently spoke on this. He recently spoke on, the level of production values he's had over the years. And he referenced Following, which was his first feature, how that particular project, was only made for $7,000. It was really shot over the course of weekends whenever he had people available. And so in terms of the resources, he said that it's a matter of kind of realizing the resources you have and working within those constraints and telling the story that those resources dictate. And so if you have more resources, if you have more access, you can tell bigger stories. But I think that was kind of, his perspective on that.
But see, because we shot me about bigger stories, for me, what's bigger? It's like, I was thinking about like Jackson Heights. We take a camera out there. You got hundreds of people in the background naturally living their lives, and they all have a backstory. Evo's backstory is epic and is epic, but I don't want to give much away about it, but just showing a drawing of his childhood has a lot of weight. I don't want to give it away, but to me, that's epic. Yeah. I mean, for me, the idea of the David Lean style of filmmaking, shooting in a big desert that's empty, it looks gorgeous, but to me, that's not epic. Just shooting in Jackson Heights and you see all the people there. To me, that's like instant production value.
And also shooting with a smaller crew that quickly probably made it easier, because if we had a bunch of people,
it'd make it hard.
Yeah,
exactly.
make it slower.
So it shut you down.
Yeah, because
exactly.
We were moving C-stands through traffic before when we were getting ready for the shoot. If we had more equipment, it would have jammed up traffic even more, and we probably had to shoot less,
So Finn, did you also feel the same about, kind of the time restraints, or were these guys just so prepared that you kind of just came in and you maximized that time?
I knew the time was short. My time was short. Their time was short. But I had lived with this script for a while, like the longer script that we're going to make someday. So like this character was kind of alive in my mind. So like even though this short is sort of its own piece, sort of standalone thing, I've gotten to know the guy in my own brain reading the script for the last few years. And so even though I kind of had to run in and run out and I was doing a different thing, which was very different, it was really nice for me to kind of have a little rehearsal with Evo and sort of figure out who he was and my rhythm with him and what that feels like. So actually I thought it would be daunting. I thought I was like, oh God, we have no time. But once we were there, it was like, okay, we have enough time to pull this off if we just kind of focus and dig in and do it. It wasn't stressful in the moment, from my point of view, anyway. It was like we're kind of playing here, and we had the time, and we're gonna. And you guys didn't have too many setups, not too many shots, so like the acting could sort of just like live, and I could do.
Yeah.
I could find it after a few takes, and so it actually felt very like fruitful and lovely to play in, even though we were in the midst of this wonderful chaos around us.
That's awesome, man. And so, do you feel like that opportunity to kind of step into the character in a little more kind of concrete way is going to help, as you make the bigger project? Are you going to carry anything from what you did here into that, or do you think it'll morph as you workshop the larger story?
I'm sure it'll morph, but I think there is it's so great to like kind of put your toe into something and then sort of let it sit into your body and go into your unconscious brain and figure out all the things that it does when you're asleep or whatever it does when you're as an actor. And then once we actually do it, I think it'll have made it deeper because we explored this first,
And like even the visual style, the feature's gonna look very similar. It's gonna feel very similar. Like that helped me just trying to figure out the look of it. Figure out the look of it. And there's like certain rules I have, like, let the actors, give the actors space. Don't wear them down with, bullshit flashy camera movements. When we have more elaborate camera setups, that's more for like inserts, close-ups.
Yeah, or sequences.
There's glimpses of like his props and, his world that doesn't require dialogue. Cause I always liked movies where when we're with the people, we let the camera sit there, just make sure it's a nice composition. Right?
Yeah.
Just let the actors breathe, right?
I wanted to get at least one of the questions before Finn has to go. The question is, what do you want the audience to feel when this short ends? Tension, empathy, discomfort, recognition? Anything mentioned there? What do you want the audience to feel when the short ends?
Who is this guy? That's what I want them to feel. I want them to feel like there's an enigma here that we want to figure out. I think the short does a really good job of sort of showing someone in a lot of complication, a guy he's angry, he's vulnerable, he's got a lot going on beneath the surface. And so while it doesn't answer a lot of questions, I hope it asks a lot of questions that people kind of want to lean into and know more about, So curiosity. Yes, that's all. Curiosity.
Yes, I think you hit that one on the head. And for Sanjay and Ranju, what's it like working together as twins? That's another question that came in.
It's pretty natural. We watch the same movies. We have the same opinion.
Directing. I noticed that this project has a lot of kind of lead creative around it. So how does like final decision or anything like that kind of come across as
We're pretty much
deciding?
We're on the same page,
because we came out on the same movies. It's not like, like my brother would say like The Passenger's the greatest movie ever, and I'd be like, no, man, Apocalypse Now is it? No, we would both be like, I think Apocalypse Now is a better film than
Why are you bad mouthing other movies in this podcast?
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
All they'll argue about it. The movie is better. Everything else they agree on, but
Sanjay, I want to make sure you get a question in before Finn has to go.
That was it. I just really wanted to kind of understand what it was like working, with so many kind of big creative heads working on this project together. How you guys manage to kind of share ownership over the project.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm collaborators with these guys, and it's been a while. We've been talking about this a long time, and the guy has kind of grown as we have, the character and also the story itself, and so I feel very sort of organically involved in this now, even though he's so different than me. But that's part of it too. As an actor, selfishly, I want to explore this guy because he's such a different walk of life and sort of he has such a different way of going about the world than I do. And so I'm just eager to like find that transformation within myself. and do it with these guys.
Awesome. Any final tips for filmmakers, first-time filmmakers out there you want to impart something on?
Don't let not having a permit stand in your way of filming on the street.
Yeah, the cops don't care in New York. But with Finn, though, Finn's a very talented writer himself. He's a filmmaker himself.
Thank you.
And he's a producer. So when we reached out to him, I knew we had that background. So for me, I was like, okay. So, and he was, we got along right away. So I'm like, this is just going to be like making a movie with friends.
Nice.
Yeah.
So pick your collaborators wisely.
Yeah. And I'm not really all that.
That's a great piece of advice.
Right. And I'm not really all that, I'm not like an Orson Welles type or like, I'm not really all that like, precious about my vision because I'm a colorist. So in the end, I'm always going to make it look the way I want to look anyway. You know what I mean?
Oh, I never told me that part.
No, but I'm always gonna tilt a shot to the side, or I mean, pan a shot or tilt a shot. I'm always gonna make it more contrast, or I could do a lot on the computer. Yeah, it's not like we're gonna be like cutting. Like we wouldn't cut Finn because we gotta move the camera 2 inches left. I've seen that on set where people are so visually specific, it wears down the actors and it throws them off, and they're cutting. We basically shot in a bigger format,
so it gave us more flexibility.
Yeah, and then we did a crop, so just like simple prep in the beginning. I knew I could move this in post later. So. Yeah, like that's one thing filmmakers should have too. Just make sure you shoot for flexibility in post, so you're not wearing down people on set. What I mean? Just make sure when you prep it technically.
Of course. Thank you to Ranju, Sanjit, and of course, Finn Wittrock. Hopefully, if you're watching this, that you heard something that intrigues you enough that you want to go watch Half a Life right now. It's streaming on Nuku, NUKHU.com. It's also Nukhufest 2026 semifinalist. If you enjoyed it and you haven't watched the movie yet, and please watch the film. Also, really important part, share it with at least one friend. Support the film, support the filmmaking community and the festival runway. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Nuvee Club Podcast.